Jami-Lee Ross.
It's common, Mr Speaker, when members on this side of the House rise to speak, we say it's a pleasure to take a call on this bill. It's an often overused phrase that we use on this side of the House, and possibly one which isn't quite appropriate on this bill. It's not a pleasure to have to be talking in the House about increasing powers for surveillance because our country is at threat. But the very fact that there are threats out there that are emerging in this world, emerging at quite a fast pace, it leads us to the situation where we do have to be talking in this House about an issue like this. Mr Speaker, members in the public have already acknowledged that this bill is making its way through the Parliament at quite a fast pace. We accept that. We also accept and understand that there is a need for this bill to be progressing at the pace that it is. And Mr Speaker, the Select Committee worked very well together over the past week or so to ensure that this bill came back into the House in the best possible manner in which it could. I do wish to join my colleagues in acknowledging the Select Committee staff and the officials that supported us. I also want to acknowledge the bipartisan approach that the committee took as well. We did work extremely well, national members, we did work extremely well with the Honourable Phil Goff and David Shearer. We also worked very well with Kennedy Graham. He ultimately ended up opposing it. We always knew that would happen. We also worked very well with Fletcher Tabuto. I think if the speech from New Zealand First was given by Fletcher Tabuto, we would have had a far more informed speech on the bill, not about general rants that Mr Peters has. We would have had a very informed speech, and Mr Tabuto did make some very good contributions to the committee that did help to improve the bill. Those contributions from members to improve the bill came from all sides of the Parliament. We did genuinely work very well together to try and improve the bill. We heard submissions about the need to reduce the warrantless surveillance time from 48 hours to 24 hours. Some called for less, some called for the power to not be inserted at all, but New Zealand actually already does have warrantless surveillance power in extraordinary circumstances for the police. This is simply a change to our statutes which would allow the SIS to have that warrantless surveillance power as well. It is an extreme power. It would be used very rarely, but it is there. It's going to be put in the legislation for those emergency situations that the country might find itself in. Now, to understand the reason why the warrantless surveillance power is needed, you have to remember that to get a warrant under normal circumstances for surveillance, it requires the Minister and it requires a Commissioner to sign off on the warrant. You can probably imagine quite easily circumstances where the country would be at risk, the country's security would be at risk if those two individuals are not available in an emergency situation. That's why this power is needed. We also received submissions around the need to tighten the scope in which surveillance can be undertaken. We did that. We received submissions around reducing the time frame in which the bill would operate from 3 years to 2 years. We did that. We also received submissions about increasing the fine if surveillance information that was acquired was not properly destroyed when it is required to, and Mr Speaker, we've made changes to that as well. The committee worked very well together to improve this bill as much as we possibly could. We have a much better bill now before the Parliament, and I hope, Mr Speaker, it continues to enjoy a wide support in the House.